Women's Asia Cup 2024 continues, and I once again have Neha with me. Neha, welcome to the show. It's time to move on to another Asian team, that is Bangladesh. In the men's side of things, we see a lot of rivalries between these two teams. But what about the women's side? I think you will be able to tell me better about this. But as a whole, what about the Bangladesh side? Ranking number 9 in the women's T20 rankings. That's not impressive, but how are they playing in the recent past?
Hi, Preetham. First up, it's lovely to be back, to talk about a team other than India, and this time it's Bangladesh, right? I think just looking at Bangladesh's performance in the recent past as well, I mean, they've defeated Pakistan and South Africa in, flash of the pan type of performances. And again, just looking at their cricket, there's been no cricket from December till about March 20th, because on 21st they played Australia. And then, when they played Australia as well in that ODI series, they lost 3-0. The T20I series also, they were just whitewashed 3-0. Up 30 expectations, heading into that India tour as well. But again, whitewashed 5-0. And it hasn't been ideal for them because Bangladesh at home in their conditions are absolute beasts. At least that's the kind of impression you get from the men's team.
Correct.
But the women's team themselves, right, they've been going through some changes here and there. And it was kind of surprising to see them not put up a fight. But I think, they would want to be coming back stronger. They've just finished their Dhaka Premier Cricket League division, like, their domestic
Yeah.
tournament, and there has been some good performances there. So there is a little bit of cricket, but international cricket wise, they're just heading into the Asia Cup on the back of not as much cricket as we would expect them to
Correct.
see. So it will be interesting to see how they fare.
So they're heavily relying on the form of the players from the Dhaka Premier League, is what you're saying. Okay, but talking about this cricketer, the captain of Bangladesh, you have Nigar Sultana Joty. I think she's not that vast experience, but when you talk about runs, she's there amongst the mix. Scored a lot of runs in the recent past. So how do you look into her experience leading from the front in this Bangladesh side?
I think Nigar Sultana Joty, of course, makes it to any playing 11 just on the basis of the kind of experience and the kind of player she is, right? I think one of the bright spots from that T20 series versus Australia was her. She was among the top run getters with 96 runs, and as a skipper, we've always seen her lead from the front and is a very inspirational person. Again, I remember listening to her story on a podcast, and she's faced a lot of hurdles, and just lead the girls the way she has been doing has been very inspirational. I hope she can keep upping her performances. We get to see her in franchise cricket as well, but right now she's the right person to lead Bangladesh, because a lot of young players in the side, and she is the skipper to take them ahead and a force to reckon with, definitely.
Absolutely. So you're saying that a lot of young girls are there, but she's the right person to take forward the women's cricket of Bangladesh. But let's take a look into what are the young girls we're talking about. Let's take a look into the squad for Bangladesh. Starting with the first four players, you can see in your front of the screen, Dilara Akhtar, you have Murshida Khatun, you have the skipper once again, and then you have Rubia Haidar Jilik. If you look into the numbers, if you look into strike rate firstly, Neha, it's pretty impressive, not bad at all. In the 80s, some of them are pretty new. As you can see, I can see Dilara is pretty new. You can see Rubia is pretty new. But the middle two people are vast experience. 776 runs for Murshida Khatun. You have 1800 plus runs for Jyoti, as you said. So they are the pillars of the middle order, or you can say the top order batting for Bangladesh.
Definitely. I think Bangladesh is heavily reliant on these players to, kind of step up and do the job for them. And the interesting part about a lot of them is they've come through age group cricket, right? So it's not like this, like playing international cricket is a first time sort of thing. So they've come through the right procedures and, process, so they know what they are doing. But just looking at the strike rate part of it as well, right? It's mostly because the kind of matches they play, they just end up losing wickets in clumps that, you have batters
Correct.
who tend to go into that conservative sort of mindset. So that is something that has been impeding their progress for some time. So I hope, this Asia Cup, at least we will see some crucial partnerships. If, if Nigar Sultana Jyoti can hold her end and you have at least one of these batters, just giving her that much needed support from the other end, I believe they can actually go a long way. And the conditions shouldn't be entirely different. And it'll be great practice for them, even heading into that World Cup, right? So I think with less cricket, this is certainly the way to go.
Absolutely. And like you rightly said, the conditions shouldn't matter because they're playing in Sri Lanka is something which, as we discussed about Team India as well, the situations, the conditions will definitely favor you because you have experience out there. Moving into the next four, you have Sharna Akhtar is there, Tanjim is out there. I think she doesn't have any figures because probably she will make her debut if he gets. Ritu Moni is there out there in numbers as well as Rubeya Khan. So talk us through as we move on to the middle orders, the lower middle orders. You can see experience there, but spinners will definitely be the key to success for Bangladesh.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, just looking at the players on our screen right now, let's talk about Ishma Tanjim, right? Now, she actually performed really well in domestic cricket. She is an opener, and was rated
Okay,
highly by one of the selectors. And there's this whole explanation of why she would be ideal. And she was one of the very few batters, I think, besides Jazia Akhtar, one of our Indian players in that Dhaka league, who actually scored at a strike rate of 100 plus. So, you can see the kind of talent that
that's
she comes
impressive.
in with,
Yep,
and someone Bangladesh can definitely look at, if not right at the top of the order, but at least in the middle order to give you that kind of solidity. And what better occasion than the Asia Cup to try her out, right? When you have the home World Cup and everything that's kind of important. And even with Shorna Akhtar, the way she has been creating in international cricket has been super duper impressive. A very young player, comes in with so much talent, a prodigious talent. Again, we wish to see her a lot more in international cricket, but it also boils down to, Bangladesh not playing as much. But she's definitely one star to watch out for. And even the likes of Ritu Moni, again, an experienced campaigner. We have seen her, time and again step up and deliver for Bangladesh. And Rabia Khan, I mean, versus India, right? She took like 8 wickets, one of the highest wicket takers, a stellar leg break bowler. And just I was just looking at her numbers, before we were having this discussion. An average of 16, strike rate of 18, and an economy of just 5 in T20s is something, right? And I think she is definitely, one of the players to watch out for because of the kind of talent she possesses. And every single time we see her in Bangladesh colors, we know for a fact that she is going to be well. And she
correct.
really challenged the Indian batters, in that series. So credit to her for being a stellar player.
Absolutely, and that's the reason why we see so many players out here. They have performed in the recent past. It's just that such a wonderful occasion, the Asia Cup and ICC. Even how much can you hold your nerves? How much can you perform? We'll come and see whom do they face. But moving on to the next four set of players, here are they. And you have Sultana Khatun, you have Murafa Akhtar, one more Akhtar out there. You have Nahida Akhtar as well, and then you have Ruman Ahmed. So Ruman Ahmed is very, very experienced. The numbers say 75 wickets. You have Nahida Akhtar 94 wickets. The economy is decent. I think in the women's cricket, 5.5 is pretty much decent. But the other two, I think they have the experience. 6.5 is not up to the mark, I must say, in women's cricket.
No, actually, Preetham, just looking at Marufa Akhtar, right? Again, another brilliant talent has come from that under 19 setup, right? And
Okay.
seeing her in that World Cup was just remarkable. And quite lately, in the series versus India as well, she picked up 5 wickets, looked brilliant. And for Bangladesh, I think during the series versus Australia and India, you could see they wanted to, bring in that fresh blood. And Marufa Akhtar definitely had to be, had to make the cut because as a seamer, she did show a lot of promise in like domestic cricket and in series prior to this. So I know the economy may show like 6.41. It seems like a lot, but she again has a lot of potential. And when we talk
Okay.
about Nahida Akhtar and Rumana Ahmed as well, they've just been in the setup for so long. They're again, pillars of that bowling lineup, so to say. There are times when batters challenge them, but they every single time, they find a way to kind of just rise to the occasion and get you those crucial wickets. I'm quite excited to see how this duo kind of goes because again, just looking at Bangladesh's squad, there were some names that didn't make the cuts. I'm glad they didn't just go all radical and drop this duo as well because they have been performing well for a considerable amount of time. And Nahida Akhtar too, right? For her credit versus Australia, she got like 5 wickets in that
Yeah.
T20 series, and she has been in that rhythm. I hope the not playing cricket for such a long time doesn't affect their
Correct.
performances in the Asia Cup. So fingers crossed, if not win the Asia Cup, I feel they will go a certain distance, and just waiting to see how it pans out.
Okay, fingers crossed about that for Bangladesh. But the last three players you have Sharifa Khatun, you have then you have Jahanara Alam. She's another experienced candidate.
Yes.
You have the left arm orthodox, and then you have Shubikun Nahar Jasmine. She's another there on the radar as well for Bangladesh. So there is experience in that mix. But what's your thoughts about these three players? Shubiku is a very good left arm orthodox. Has she been in the mix of the things for Dhaka Premier League as well? I want to know about that. But what about Alam? She is experienced out there.
I mean, Jahanara Alam didn't, play in that series versus Australia and India, and I think that's perhaps, Bangladesh, the management wanting to experiment with new things. But in the Dhaka Women's Cricket League, Jahanara ended up taking 25 wickets, which was very impressive. She was bowling brilliant line and length. And for the longest time, I think we remember her with her headband, just coming in and getting you those wickets, right? So I think Jahanara making her comeback was very, very important in that sense. And even talking about a new entrant here in the likes of Shabikun Nara, right? Now she's a left arm spinner, and I think even the selector was talking about how the rationale for choosing her is she can actually complement Nahida Akhtar from the other end. So it kind
Okay.
of releases some pressure from her side, and she can actually do the bulk of the bowling. So I'm quite excited to see how she goes. And Sharifa Khatun again hasn't quite lived up to her promise so far, at least from whatever little we have seen. But I reckon she will come back strong if she doesn't make it into the playing 11 immediately. At some point, she can come in for someone else. But again, let's hope and see if she can get the ball rolling when she gets those opportunities. But yeah, excited nonetheless.
But I must say, Neha, the way you explain the entire players and all the 15 players, the side looks really promising, to be honest. And in Asian conditions, if they come out well as a unit, they can be really, really promising for the opponents. But who are the opponents they're going to face? Let's take a look at the schedule for the group stages of Bangladesh. Oh dear, it's once again starting with Sri Lanka. For the men's, we all know the red hot
Yeah.
rivalry which goes on. For the women's as well, Sri Lanka starting on the 20th of July. Then they face Thailand and then they go to Malaysia on the 24th. Every alternative game, but it's the first big game they face Sri Lanka. After that, the next two teams, I think they should get it over the line. But it's
Yeah,
once again,
that's
like you said, for India, Pakistan is the big one. Similarly, for Bangladesh, I think Sri Lanka is the big one.
absolutely well put, Preetham, because the first game versus a team like Sri Lanka. I mean, Sri Lanka, the kind of journey that they've had lately, the kind of performances they've been putting up versus South Africa, and I think under Chamari Attapatthu, they're just shaping up to be such a brilliant team. All the youngsters seem to be stepping up. I think we can keep the Sri Lanka discussion for later, but I think for Bangladesh, the biggest threat in this group is, of course, Sri Lanka. Right? This is not the team you would want to be facing, but I expect that they would kind of get their way versus Thailand and Malaysia, because as much as we say Bangladesh is a weak side, they still have some formidable players in their ranks, and they still have a cricketing setup that's much better than Thailand and Malaysia, and probably any given day, right? So I'm very confident that they will, notch these two crucial victories. But I think the real challenge will come, once they qualify from here and square off
Correct.
against the bigger teams like say India and even Pakistan for that matter. So let's see how this kind of pans out.
Absolutely, and that's the reason why I think the schedule looks well for Bangladesh as well. Similarly, could be the same schedule for Sri Lanka, but I think they can fancy their chances progressing from the group stages. But who are the top three players to watch out for Bangladesh? Here are my choices. Let's have a look. Here are the three players I've chosen, Neha. Captain has to be amongst the mix. Sultana Joty is there. Ritu Moni and Dilara Akhtar. These are the three players. I think experience will be key. Ritu Moni's medium pace can be handy. Dilara Akhtar is a very promising player as well. My three choices here. Am I going on the same page as yours? Let us know as well.
Yeah, Preetham, I think your choices are perfect here. Again, these three are stalwarts, have been serving Bangladesh cricket for so long. So I'm not very surprised that you chose them. So likewise, I'd go with Nigar Sultana Joti, because she is, an ideal candidate and will definitely make a lot of difference to that Bangladesh setup that is, still relatively young, trying to find their feet and, making the most of all the opportunities they get. But if I had to add two more names, I'd definitely go with Rumana Ahmed, right? I mean, she's again was not selected for that Australian India series, but in the domestic side of things, she took 17 wickets, was again, bowling really well. was showing a lot of promise again. So I'm glad to see her, kind of make the cut back again to the international side. And even Marufa Akhtar, right? The pacer that I was raving about,
Yeah.
having seen her from that under 19 World Cup all the way till here. And I think there was this video during that Australia series, I suppose, where she was signing autographs of young kids,
Correct. Yeah.
and they were like so inspired by her. So
So
you can
happy.
imagine,
Exactly.
yeah, you can imagine at
Exactly.
such a young age she's making such impact, and you know how the situation is in Bangladesh too, right? There are still
Absolutely.
very conservative minds. They don't like women playing and everything, but I believe these women are breaking that glass ceiling. So just very excited to see how all of these players just put in their best performance every single time they step onto
Absolutely.
the field. We know they are going to produce magic. So yeah, that would be my key players to watch out.
Okay, so you have given your three key players. I have given mine. So sums it up pretty much. Let's take a look into what are the predicted playing 11 for both of us. Starting with mine. Here it is, my predicted playing 11. I have four Akhtars out here, I must tell you, Neha. So here is my predicted playing 11. Dilara Akhtar is there. Murshida Khatun. Captain Joty is at number 3. Rupia Haider Jelik is at number 4. Shorana Akhtar, Ritu Moni. And then coming into the all-rounders bowler section, Rabia Khan, Sultana Khatun. Two couple of Akhtars are there with experience. And then coming to Shorifa Khatun. So pretty good side I have. Maybe I am differing from yours. What's yours, Neha? I want to know your predicted playing 11.
I think, Preetam, on this one, I definitely agree with you. This has to be the best playing 11, Somewhere I did want to, slot in someone like a Jahanara Alam because of the kind of experience she brings in, the form she's carrying from her domestic setup. So I think I'd probably just, put her in place of Sharifa. But that again,
Okay,
depends largely on the conditions as well because, how many spinners do I want to go with? Do I need those many
exactly.
pacers as well? But all in all, I think the playing 11 does look very formidable. Something very similar was fielded versus Australia and India as well, barring a few changes here and there. So yeah, I think I'd probably stick to the similar playing 11.
So you're going with me. That's surprising to see. I expected a couple of changes for you for Bangladesh, but okay. So Bangladesh team is done and dusted. Very promising side as we discussed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Neha, once again. Thank you to all the viewers for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the Fifth Umpire. Press the bell icon as well. To the thank you so much and bye bye.